economy appears to be stuffed. Economic figures that came out yesterday showed that for most of 2023, we were in what is called a per capita recession. You will not hear the government talking about this, but it is important. Our next guest is the chief economist and co-founder of Macro Business, Leith Van Onselen. Good morning.
G'day, Tom. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you for joining us. So what exactly is a per capita recession?
So a per capita recession is basically when the economy doesn't grow as fast as the population grows. So basically last calendar year, so 2023, the economy grew by 1.5%. So that's growth. It sounds sort of okay on the surface. It's weak, but it's growth. Problem is the population grew by nearly 2.6% over time. So effectively, the overall economic pie grew, but everyone's slice of the pie shrank, and we actually went backwards. And the data is actually worse than the headline suggests, Tom, because the economy is made up of a whole different sectors, right? It's households are the biggest sector, that's about 60%, and then there's exporters and businesses, etc. The segment that we all care about is what's happening to households, because that's where we live. We're all households, right? So we care about our welfare. And household consumption, once you adjust for population growth, actually fell by 2.5% over the year. So households are going backwards faster than the economy is going backwards in per capita terms. So,
right. So when people sort of say, you know what, I'm getting paid the same as what I got a couple of years ago, but it doesn't seem to be going as far, I mean, they're right. That feeling is correct.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. So Australian households have just been through their biggest ever decline in real disposable income. So, and there's a few reasons for that. It's obviously we've had high inflation. Our wage growth, despite all the talks from the government, has been weaker than just about anywhere else in the world. We've also had a massive increase in mortgage payments. And lastly, and this is important, tax bills, our personal income tax bills have gone through the roof because of bracket creep. And what it's done is it's basically drained households of income. And we've had one of the biggest losses of household disposable income in the world.
Okay, so when we got the immigration numbers a few months ago and we found out that almost 600,000 net migrants came to Australia in the past 12 months, I said then that I thought this was like a government Ponzi scheme, that the government knew the economy was weak, so they've flooded Australia with immigrants to try and cover that up. Do you think that's what's happened here?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, to be honest with you, Tom, it's happened for the last 20 years. So Australia's net overseas migration was ramped up from about 2005. It was more than doubled then, and now it's been doubled again, obviously. And what that's basically done is it's basically hid the very poor performance of the Australian economy. So Australia's per capita GDP growth has been poor for 20 years. Problem is we've run a higher immigration program than just about anywhere else. So that's made our growth look better than it was. Whereas individually, our living standards are going backwards, not just from poor GDP and household incomes, etc. It's also because we've got more traffic congestion, we've got a rental crisis. Livability generally has been trashed, especially in big cities like Melbourne and Sydney.
I did an interview the other day with Shadow Immigration Minister Dan Tehan, and he says he's going to create a new policy fairly soon for the Liberal National Party to reduce immigration drastically. Now, I think a lot of people would probably agree that's a good idea, but will that sort of uncover how weak our economy is if indeed the Liberals are elected?
Yeah, look, I'll believe when I see it, Tom. I mean, politicians in opposition always say this. So, you remember Big Australia, Kevin Rudd, Julia Gillard, when she took over, said, I want a sustainable Australia, and they kept the Big Australia train going. So basically, the way I see it, all three major parties, Labor, Liberal, Greens, are all for Big Australia. It's just, by varying degrees. Unfortunately, Labor seems to be the biggest for Big Australia.
Final question. I read an article you did yesterday on Macro Business entitled Chinese buyers drive up house prices. Now, we've suspected this for a long time. Are you saying that's true? That, buyers from overseas make our houses more expensive?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I'm not going to say they're a major driver. Obviously, I think the immigration is a much bigger thing than that. But at the margin, certainly they are pushing up prices. There's been a whole bunch of reports recently through the AFR, et cetera, of real estate agents saying that Chinese buyers are back in force. There's also been survey data from July, which is a real estate portal for overseas buyers. It says that Australia is now the #1 destination for Chinese buyers. We've had other search activity on realestate.com shows that they're back in force. So certainly, they are having a marginal impact on the market. They're pushing up prices. And really, this is another policy stuff up by Australia because the former Rudd-Gillard government in 2009 allowed temporary migrants to purchase established housing. Before that, it was banned. I think we should really go back to that.
Well, it's interesting just on that. I think New Zealand has banned all foreign purchases of local houses, and I'm pretty sure Canada is doing the same thing. So we seem to be the outlier in the Anglo world.
Yeah, we are. And we're also a honeypot for money laundering because we've got the weakest money laundering rules in the world as well. So basically, you know, Australia's a great destination if you're a foreign buyer and you want to purchase real estate, you know, legally or illegally.
All right. Thank you, Leith.
We seem to be number one.
Leith
Thanks,
Van
Mike.
Onselen there, Chief Economist and Co-founder of Macro Business. Interesting.
Start listening.